Hello friends, I'm the GM Philosopher. Welcome back to GM Philosophy in the Morning. Imagine this, you're a hiring manager. You're building a team to tackle a high-pressure, multi-month creative project. You need people who communicate well, show up on time, and know how to collaborate under stress. You'd never say yes to just anyone who walked into the interviews, right? So why do so many game masters treat session zero like a pizza party instead of what it really is? A project role interview. Listen, I know this sounds harsh, but here's the truth. If you're not vetting your players, you're actually gambling with your campaign, with your valuable time, and with the valuable time of your other awesome players. I've seen too many promising games fall apart because the GM didn't treat player selection with the same seriousness they put into world building or plot design or even villain concepts. This video is not clickbait, though the title and the thumbnail are a little funny, a little satiristic, maybe a little goofy. The truth is, this video came about because in my job recently, I've actually been conducting hiring interviews for new employees. My direct manager has been giving me this task so that they can do other things with their time. This isn't the first time I've been in a hiring manager position. At my last job, I did this as well. I would like to say I'm pretty good at hiring employees, and I would like to say I have a pretty good track record of choosing good candidates, and then I also have a pretty good track record of being able to predict when people are probably going to be disastrous and we shouldn't hire them. Sometimes the company goes ahead and does it anyway, only to realize a month or two later that I was right. But that aside, there are some lessons that I've learned interviewing candidates at work that we can totally apply to our TTRPGs. So let's get into it. First of all, when you're interviewing a candidate, or at least when I interview a candidate, I get the really crucial foundational things out of the way first. Do you have reliable transportation? What hours are you available to work? How many hours are you wanting to work per week? These might seem like overly simplistic things that most people would think about, but you'd be surprised how many people these three questions rule out of in-person job interviews for a brick and mortar business. In fact, just getting people to show up on time, show up at all, much less apply real effort to the job, can be a surprising challenge. And boy, doesn't that sound a little familiar. Sometimes running games feels exactly like that. Now, I'm not necessarily telling you to ask your players if they have reliable transportation or if they plan to show up on time, what kind of gaming hours they're looking for. But you know what? Making this really clear actually isn't such a bad idea. We do want to be clear about game time frame, expectations for wanting people to show up ready to go and engaged by the start time. And yeah, if you're playing online, you might not need them to have reliable transportation, but friend, you may need them to have a reliable internet connection, and that might actually be a question to ask, right? Now, I have recently made my first foray into start playing games, running paid games for players online who are looking for games like the ones I want to run. In fact, you can check out my profile. I've actually got a new game I just posted, The Darkest Dawn, but I also have a superhero sci-fi game coming down the pipe too. It's not quite live yet, but it will be, so make sure to click that link in the description and check it out. With that being said, my process for screening players for session zero has been a little different for this because I am providing a service running a paid game. With that being said, I think it's important to talk about this too. My method thus far has been let players sign up, engage with them in a session zero before the first session, talk with them, do a vibe check, talk about the character, talk about the background. And here's the thing. Thus far, this experience has been relatively new. I have one game that just got full at 6 players, but the truth is, everyone that I've met through Start Playing has been pretty cool, and I've been pretty excited to game with them. And because my game listings are so specific, I mean literally down to the genre I'm playing, the time frame, exactly what players should expect and what they shouldn't expect. This, I think, really helps to pre-screen. Plus, when you get people who are actually paying to play D&D with you, these people will tend to be a level more serious than just the casual gamers who might fall into your game because they don't have anything else going on. And let me point something out. That's one of the most dangerous things for any game, for any table run by a game master who really cares. What if players just fall into your game not because they care about your game or because they want to enter into this co-creation adventure with you, but just as a sake of needing something to do, and you happen to be an easy line into something that prevents them from sitting at home bored all on the weekend. See, that's exactly what we want to avoid. Players using our games as just a way to stave off boredom when they don't have anything better to do that they care about more. It is my personal opinion that if you want to run a game that you can care about, that you can get really interested in, that you can get really engaged in and have fun running, and then have a great successful game where your players are also engaged and having fun, it's really important to get a baseline level of like interest and buy-in from every player. And the truth is, once like a bad apple enters the group, they can drag it down a lot. They can hurt the game for the other players. Worst case scenario, they might make it bad enough that they drive away good players. The good players might think, this table would be great if it weren't for that person. I'm just going to go find another table. But here's the thing, how do you prevent that from happening? Well, I believe that this process for most game masters wouldn't be so different from a job interview. And the stuff that we talk about in that interview, in that session 0, is the stuff that matters the most. And that's going to be different for each game master. But for me, it would be stuff like, I want to run a gritty, realistic, serious campaign. Not that there aren't going to be funny moments, but the truth is, I like to explore the darker aspects of life in my games. I like to explore moral quandaries and ethical dilemmas. I like to role play through like intense, difficult situations that are extreme versions of what we might experience in real life. I mean, the vast majority of us are never going to be like a wizard fighting a dark lord or a giant dragon, but we do have challenges in our lives. We face existential dread in our real lives. We go through personal crises in our everyday lives. Personally, I think that role-playing through some of those things at a more extreme degree, and especially role-playing through some things that maybe we deal with internally that we have no outlet for in the real world, can be one of the beautiful things about TTRPGs. But that experience can get tanked so fast by players who are not actually participating and engaging. It can tank it for the players, and it can really tank it for you as the game master. So what kinds of questions are important to talk about at session 0? It's really important to talk about the stuff that matters the most. So does tone matter to you a lot? Does seriousness and engagement matter to you a lot? Does showing up on time matter to you a lot? Does knowing like the abilities on the character sheet, knowing the spells, not bogging down combat, do these things matter to you a lot? If they matter to you as a game master and they all equal up to a picture of the type of quality and level of intensity of game you want to play, then yes, those are the things that should be talked about. And this is going to be different for every GM. This is why this video isn't a long checklist of things to talk to your players about, because there might be things that you prioritize in your campaigns more so than what other people prioritize. And that's totally fine and super valid. The important thing is that you and the player learn if you're actually compatible to engage in this adventure together on. And this is true whether you're running games at your kitchen table with your friends or whether you're running paid games. The truth is, anybody who is not at the same level as you, and when I say level, I mean like on the spectrum, like what kind of game you want to run, what tone you want to have, what setting you want to have, what you want the rhythm to be, what you want the vibe to be. Like these are really important things. Also how you treat rules, how you treat like rules as written versus rule of cool, how you treat sensitive topics in your game. You might want to explore some themes that some people would not at all want or even care to talk about in TTRPGs. Then again, you might want to run a more like, kid-friendly game, and then players who want to go dark may not be a good fit for your table, right? So it's a spectrum. There really is no right or wrong as long as the players and the game master are in agreement about the kind of experience they want to have at the table. And that's what you need to discover in your session 0 through your interview process. So how do you accomplish this at your own table? Here's the process that I recommend. Think of it as your GM hiring protocol in 5 quick steps. Step 1, define the role. Before you ever meet the player, be crystal clear with yourself about what kind of game you're running. Tone, themes, intensity, rules light or crunchy, dark fantasy or high adventure. Know the experience you're hiring for. Looking for players for. You can't hire the right person for a job if you don't even know the job description. Step 2, be blunt in your posting or game presentation. Whether you're using a group chat, Reddit, Discord, Start Playing, Facebook, or just texting your friends. Say what the game actually is and be really honest about it. Don't try to be universally appealing. Get really specific. Be niche. Think to yourself, you're not trying to just draw everyone in. You're trying to rule out the people who don't belong. And that can be a hard thing to do, but that's kind of part of the goal. Be unapologetically clear about what players can and should expect from the experience. That honesty will do 90% of the filtering for you and honestly will make the job of actually conducting session zero way easier for you. And it might even prevent you from needing to deal with those difficult situations with problem players later. Step 3, conduct your session zero and make it kind of like an interview. This is where you sit down together, not to pitch your game, but to compare notes as GM and potential player. Ask questions like, what's your favorite kind of session? Do you like combat, roleplay, puzzles? How do you feel about heavy in-theme games? How do you feel about seriousness of games? Does it bother you when other players are like checking their phone and taking a long time to take their turns? Or are you actually kind of in favor of a more chill, laid back experience at the table? What need from a game master in order to have fun? And don't forget about your own experiences too, like sharing what you want, what would make the game funner for you as the game master. If you're not having fun, there's really not going to be a point to the whole thing. This isn't gatekeeping. This is about alignment. This is about figuring out if you and these players are actually going to be able to mesh well and create something beautiful at the table. It's about mutual respect for each other's time too. So if you feel like this might be like a thing that is a little conflict oriented, that is not the case at all. It doesn't have to be a negative thing in any way, shape, or form. This can be a very productive and positive discovery conversation between the two of you, and I think it should be. Step 4, watch for red flags and green flags. Does the player interrupt you constantly when you're trying to explain the game premise? Do they seem to struggle to respect boundaries? Do they seem to laugh you off when you're describing kind of the more serious aspects of the campaign, like the stuff you want to take seriously? Do they kind of treat it like a joke? These are red flags that you can sometimes see in session zero. And friend, if your instincts are telling you something's a little weird, then they're probably weird. We know a lot more than we usually think we do in social situations. We tend to be pretty intuitive creatures when we really listen to our gut feelings. By contrast, are they asking you thoughtful questions? Do they seem to care about what you're trying to put together? And do they seem to treat it with a sort of reverence and respect? Do they seem genuinely excited about what you're talking about and what you're trying to plan? Do they talk about their character with care, as in this is something they actually care about? These are big green flags, and if you are fortunate enough to find this kind of player in your session zero, you may have just struck gold. Keep in mind, we're not looking for perfect players because there are no perfect players, because TTRPGs are a human endeavor and there are no perfect humans. You're looking for people who care in the same way and roughly about the same things that you do. That's really the metric. And finally, we come to step 5, which is perhaps the hardest step. Sometimes you just need to say no. If someone is obviously not going to be a fit for your game, it is actually okay to say no and to say, I don't think this is a good fit. This doesn't have to be an angry thing. This doesn't have to be an unkind thing. It doesn't even have to be a conflict. Sometimes saying no kindly, early, and before things get more complicated is truly the kindest thing to do. This might seem counterintuitive, but trust me, this is actually the truth. And it's not personal. It's not that you think this person's a bad person. You're just not trying to build the same kind of story and the same kind of experience at the table. And on your part of it, trust me, one well-placed no up front can save you a lot of negativity, resentment, and just all-around stress down the road. The truth is, you are not building a game for everyone, and you don't have to. Your job is to create an awesome game concept that you're pumped about, and then to find like 3 to 6 or maybe 8 or maybe 10 other people who share your vision and desire, who want to embark on that with you. And friend, if you can do that, you will be massively successful. And those are pretty good odds. You have a lot of room to be true to yourself in this endeavor. So do not forget that. Empowering game masters to run better games is the goal here at GM Philosophy. Thank you so much for coming back for another episode of GM Philosophy in the Morning. I'm GM Philosopher. I'll see you awesome people on the next one.